Come on, Cavs. Gotta make it happen with your fast break action. Welcome to Raw Takes with Andrew Hoty. Like, comment, and subscribe. Hope everyone had a wondrous time watching that awesome NBA game last night if you tuned in. Oh man, that from start to finish, probably my favorite game the Cleveland Cavaliers have played in. Probably since 2016 when we won it all, Game 7. It's up there. I don't want to say maybe my all-time favorite since then, but that was one hell of a basketball game last night. Like, comment, and subscribe, as I mentioned. Also, check the show out on social media. We have the links in the description for you as well. If you want to check out the show on Facebook, Raw Takes with Andrew Hoty, Instagram at Hoty Raw Takes, and you can find me on X at Hoty Andrew. Welcome to the show, Raw Takes with Andrew Hoty, and it's time to get the frog out. We all know it's time to get the frog out because the Cleveland Cavaliers are 32-4. The best record in the NBA, possibly the best bench in the NBA, if not the best bench in the NBA. They're 10, maybe 11 deep. 10, doing the math right here, but 10, maybe 11 deep. Who knows? The Cavs are an incredible basketball team to watch right now. Hands down the best team in the NBA. Does this mean they're going to win the finals? I don't know. I'm already starting to hop on the finals bandwagon, though. I've been very pessimistic about their chances in the finals all season long, but a win like that last night, I mean, Donovan Mitchell didn't even need to do anything. He didn't even have a great game. But you know who did? Jared Allen, the Afro himself. He stepped up, dropped 25 points. The Cavs have 4 All-Stars, honestly. It's not even 3. I know we know Mobley, Garland, and Mitchell are your 3 right there, but Jared Allen is a 4th All-Star. There needs to be 4 Cleveland Cavalier All-Stars in the 2025 All-Star game. Just saying right off the record. But Jared Allen stepped up with those 25 points. He's an all-star caliber player. You look at Evan Mobley, the game he had, he put on an absolute show. You look at Darius Garland. Donovan Mitchell didn't even need to be productive last night. And it's not all on Donovan's shoulders. The Cavs are just that deep. They're 10-11 deep. You look at guys like Caris LeVert. You look at Ty Jerome. You look at Dean Wade, who had at one point 100% completion percentage. He might have for field goals. I actually have to check that stat, but Dean Wade was on fire last night. So you got to give a lot of those guys credit. The Cavs are just on fire. It's time to get that frog out. Come on, Cavs. Got to make it happen with your fast break action. The frog is here. This isn't the official Cavs frog that we know to see, but, you know, I love the meme of the Cavs frog. I happen to have a stuffed frog. It's time to make it happen. 32-4. Going to be 33-4, by the way, after tonight, a back-to-back. They play the Toronto Raptors. I have a lot of high hopes the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to be able to figure that out against Toronto tonight. Should be no problem. And Kenny Atkinson, speaking of that, is managing minutes very, very well. When a guy's having an off night, he has somebody else having a hot night. Donovan Mitchell, off night. Jared Allen, hot night. And look at that. The minutes are managed very, very well. Tonight, I'm sure there's going to be some rest from the Cleveland Cavaliers. And if you're going to the game tonight in the Cleveland area, just keep that in mind because Toronto's not very good. We already know that. So having said that, tonight should be a pencil-in win. 33-4 is my likely prediction for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Knock on wood. Don't want to jinx anything by saying that. But I am very hopeful in the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight. And even if they were to fall off, I mean, last night's win was so spectacular. It's just unbelievable how well the Cleveland Cavaliers are playing. Right now, I'd say they're pretty much a shoo-in to likely get the 1 seed. I see this team winning 64, 65 games at least. Maybe even more. I doubt it. I'm going to go with 65 as the cap. I see the Cleveland Cavaliers possibly having the best regular season in franchise history. And obviously, they're going to be a shoo-in to have a home playoff series with advantage. So we'll have to see what takes place with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think overall, though, the hopes should be very, very high. It's just incredible. Like what the Cleveland Cavaliers have done as a whole has just been incredible. It's just incredible to watch. I could say that word over and over again. I mean, you got Donovan Mitchell. You have Evan Mobley. You have Jared Allen. You have Darius Garland. You have Dean Wade. That's your starting 5 alone. Max Strus coming off the bench. He had some wide open plays. Didn't even mention him yesterday. You had Dean Wade, who was looking like he was on fire. You have Ty Jerome. You have Caris LeVert. Do the Cavs even need to make a move at the deadline, honestly? I know that's kind of been the Kobe Altman strategy is let's just ride this out. And under J.V. Bickerstaff, it wasn't working. But with Kenny Atkinson, maybe it will. Maybe it will. I think this team is a shoo-in right now to just at least go to the ECF. Maybe they lose to Boston in 7 games there. But this should be a shoo-in team for the ECF. The Cleveland Cavaliers are just on fire. And it's tremendous. to see a team this hot in Cleveland, especially after the season the Browns had. And I don't even want to mention the Browns in the same sentence right now. We talked about them on Tuesday's show. Let's just celebrate the Cleveland Cavaliers for what they are. They're 32-4, 4 losses on the season. Am I concerned about one thing? A little bit. Atlanta's the 7 seed right now, and they're in playoff tournament range, and we have 2 losses to the Hawks on the season. Now, of course I would trust the Cleveland Cavaliers in a 7-game series with the Hawks, but that is kind of concerning that for some reason it's weird that they haven't matched up with the Hawks well compared to everybody else in the NBA. They have another loss to Miami, but that Jimmy Butler debacle is kind of a mess with them. I'm not so sure on Miami going into this upcoming postseason at all, but they do have a very good culture, of course. And the Boston Celtics, obviously, are probably your biggest threat right off the rip. The Milwaukee Bucks have been pretty inconsistent. As I said, Doc Rivers, I still think is the problem and remains the problem with Milwaukee. But Giannis likes him. He's probably not going anywhere. Obviously, there's some superstar talent on that Milwaukee Buck roster, so they should be a lot better than what they are. Indiana, they play a lot of offense, but, I mean, their defense is starting to catch up to them a little bit. You look at Orlando. Paolo Banchero's been out. The Magic have kind of been able to hold it together, but, I mean, do you really believe in the Orlando Magic making some sort of playoff spectacular run? I really don't think so. So when I look at the Cleveland Cavaliers right now, to me, it's them and Boston in the Eastern Conference. It should come down to that. The New York Knicks I do want to take seriously, too, especially because we lost to them in a playoff series a few years ago. But the New York Knicks aren't this deep. They have Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, but those are their only 2 star players, really. When you look at stars, they have very good players around them, but those are your 2 star players. I think the Cavs have 4 stars. You have Donovan Mitchell, you have Darius Garland, Evan Mobley. Okay, those are your star players. Jared Allen I would consider an all-star, but overall, star in the word, star players. The Cavaliers have 4 of them. 4 of them in the starting lineup. And Dean Wade is a 5th starting guy, and you have Caris LeVert coming off the bench. You have Ty Jerome. I mean, you can make an argument that Caris LeVert and Ty Jerome are fighting for 6th man of the year at this point. And they're both on the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, they're both on the Cavs. So, it's just incredible what the Cleveland Cavaliers have been able to come up with. Kenny Atkinson, a Coach of the Year candidate, probably the shoe-in for that as well. This team just doesn't lose. They're winning night in, night out. They're playing tough, great basketball. They're fun to watch, and they put everybody in the nation on notice on ESPN last night, defeating the Oklahoma City Thunder, who were on a 15-game winning streak coming into this game, but instead you extend your winning streak to 11, and then you have Toronto coming into tonight, so you're probably going to have a 12-game winning streak coming off this homestand. And as I said, knock on wood, I think the Cavs are going to be 33-4 by tonight. So let's bring out the frog once again. Come on, Cavs. Got to make it happen. Let's go. 33-4. Here we come. And here we come for the NBA Eastern Conference Finals at the very least. Now I want to talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder before we move off the NBA too and get into some college football as well. The Oklahoma City Thunder put on one hell of a show. They're a great basketball team. Defensively, they're terrific. Offensively, SGA is just one of the best players in the game. And I want to talk about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with 31 points yesterday. He is a superstar in this league. I would consider him to be the league MVP right now. I know he's been leading in the voting. I think SGA is hands down the MVP. And I hate to say that because the Cavs are as good as they are. But to me, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is by far the best player in basketball right now. And if you're the Los Angeles Clippers right now, the Los Angeles Clippers, you're just eating crow. Because you made one of the worst possible trades in hindsight in history. You got Paul George there and Kawhi Leonard. It looked like it was going to really work out for you. You had Doc Rivers at the time, who we thought was a really good coach. Turned out he might have been a little more overrated than we thought at the time. And then you look at the fact that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a young player, went to Oklahoma City from LA. Big jump, by the way, in terms of the market. But having said that, he goes to OKC. And what do we know about Sam Presti? He knows how to draft. He knows how to get capital. It's a criminal that the Thunder don't even have a title yet. But the Oklahoma City Thunder right now clearly look like the best team in the Western Conference, and it's not even close. Right now, the Denver Nuggets, to me, are starting to turn into the Milwaukee Bucks, where they're kind of off that title hangover, and they're just Jokic and just okay players around them, and maybe Jamal Murray. We know how good Jamal Murray is, too, but you look at Nikola Jokic, he pretty much is all the Denver Nuggets are right now. You look at the Los Angeles Lakers and the Golden State Warriors, a rivalry that the NBA is trying to keep on life support. I don't really care about that rivalry anymore, and I think a lot of people in the country don't, but the NBA is keeping it on life support, essentially, right now, so those two teams aren't really threats. you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, to me, it's a clear path for them to get to the finals. I don't see anybody in their way. Maybe the Dallas Mavericks. I do believe in them with Klay Thompson. I don't. And Luka's down right now. So I don't believe in the Dallas Mavericks. I don't believe in the Denver Nuggets. I don't believe in the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're not nearly the team they were last year, nor do I really believe in the Memphis Grizzlies. I do believe in Ja Morant when there's no off-the-court issues and when he's fully healthy. But the Memphis Grizzlies, to me, they've been a nice surprise, but they're not the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're the best coached, they're the best players, and this is all without Chet Holmgren in the lineup, too. And when Chet Holmgren comes back, that's going to significantly help Oklahoma City. So right now, I think the Thunder is the Western Conference, and in the Eastern Conference, I think you got to look at the Cavs and the Celtics. I'll even put the Celtics in that conversation. The New York Knicks are third, but I don't really buy the Knicks at all. So we'll have to see what happens as the postseason comes around. But Oklahoma City and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, despite the Cavs beating them yesterday, they deserve a ton of props. They went on a 15 games winning streak. They absolutely took care of business, and then they came to Cleveland, and the Cavs just proved to be a better team in that game. But this is also the NBA regular season. We know the magnitude of things can shift quite frequently in the NBA postseason. So I think it's going to all come down to what we see take place in a 7-game series with anybody in the Eastern Conference or the Western Conference. But right now, who's going to stop the Cleveland Cavaliers or Oklahoma City Thunder? The Boston Celtics may be the only team I can think of. And the Denver Nuggets, if they get maybe a little bit better than where they are right now. But they don't even look like they're anywhere close to that. And to me, it just feels like it's starting to become the Nikola Jokic show. They need to get another guy over there. But that's my thoughts on that awesome basketball game yesterday. Jared Allen with those dunks leading in scoring for the Cavs. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was the leading scorer overall. As I said, still the MVP favorite. I would make Shai Gilgeous-Alexander the MVP of the league this year, even if Oklahoma City doesn't go all the way. He's just been phenomenal. And the Thunder have just gone on an absolute tear because of it. It's a really good organization in Oklahoma City. And I think they deserve a lot more props, and they just have no hardware or championships to show for it yet. And I think it's going to come very, very soon for them. And that'll be a great thing for such a small market, too. That's the thing about the NBA. The small markets are so fun, like Oklahoma City, Memphis, San Antonio, Portland. I mean, you can go on and on about all the small markets there. Indiana. I mean, they have the Colts, too. But, all the cities that have one team, and it's the NBA. The NBA has a lot of cities like that. The Utah Jazz. I guess now you look at the Utah Hockey Club is there. But that's what I mean. The small markets are plentiful in the NBA, and that's something that's what I really admire about that league is in particular. But yeah, I would love to see the Cavs and the Thunder in the finals, and of course I think the Cavs right now are the more complete team, 10, maybe 11 deep. We'll have to see how this plays out as the season goes on. Let's talk some college football. We have 2 games coming up, Ohio State and Texas, a big one. I think the pressure of Ryan Day's job is now off the table. If he loses to Texas, he is safe. Does that make me happy? Probably not, because we still lost to Michigan. And I can go on and on about that. But I'm forgetting about that right now. Ohio State, out of these 4 teams left, is the best team left in the field. They should have no problem taking down Texas tomorrow. Texas showed against Arizona State that the SEC is very, very vulnerable. And I believe that if you're Texas right now, you want to make sure you're playing stellar defense against this Ohio State offense. Will Howard had essentially free reign to do whatever the heck he wanted against that Oregon Duck defense. And I thought the Ducks defense was pretty good. I don't think it was one of the best in college football, but it was very, very solid throughout the late part of the season. And I think Will Howard just teared it to shreds. I mean, if you're the Ohio State Buckeyes, you have Jeremiah Smith as your offensive weapon. That'll complement Will Howard pretty well. You have Emeka Egbuka. You have great running backs when you look at guys like Quinshon Judkins and Trevion Henderson. The defense, obviously, you look at guys like Denzel Burke. I mean, Ohio State all around looks like a very, very complete team from start to finish. I mean, oh man. It's something else for the Ohio State Buckeyes. I think Texas is going to struggle. And they're going to have to put pressure on Quinn Ewers really, really hard, because I don't even know. The defense may be Texas's strong point in this game. But Quinn Ewers, I think, could make calculated decisions at the right time and get things going for the Texas offense. And if I'm Ohio State's defense, I definitely want to keep him contained. But when I look at the Buckeyes right now, complete from start to finish, they look like the better team, the better coach team. I'll give Ryan Day the advantage there, maybe just there. He's starting to pan out. It's just Michigan he can't beat. I don't know what else to say, the most important opponent. But, I can talk about that Michigan game over and over again. I'm going to let it go. But Ohio State, to me, this is just the more complete football team, and I see them torching this Texas defense ultimately. But I still think Texas's secondary could definitely shut down guys like Jeremiah Smith. You're going to have to watch that, as well as maybe Emeka Ibuka if you get him in the slant. If he can get open when Jeremiah Smith is double-teamed or covered up, then I think Ibuka will be another nice weapon for Will Howard. But Will Howard with his legs could also really carry Ohio State to victory. So we'll have to see what takes place between Ohio State and Texas. I like Ohio State to win the whole darn thing at this point out of these four teams. To me, Texas losing would also be special just because the SEC could just even prove how terrible they are. And I know the folks in Ann Arbor, I don't know if they're rooting for Ohio State at any cost or if they're rooting for them to win the whole thing so they could brag about beating Ohio State this year. But I'll tell you what, it's good for not only Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon, Washington, Penn State. It'll be really good if it's Ohio State and Penn State in the national title, but I'll get to Penn State in just a second. It'll be really good for the entire Big Ten if we have a Big Ten national championship and Texas is out. I'll tell you what, though. For Michigan fans, Ohio State fans, Penn State fans, Oregon fans, Washington fans, Wisconsin, Minnesota, if you have an Ohio State-Penn State national championship coming up, that's great for the Big Ten, and it's terrible for the SEC. And there's always this talk about how great the SEC is and the bias towards the SEC in the AP polls. Yeah, but you guys didn't go anywhere this year. And Texas, the furthest team that got anywhere, got eliminated if Ohio State ends up winning this game. But I think it could be a close game, too. It's going to be something to watch between Ohio State and Texas. And is Matthew McConaughey going to be the new Taylor Swift of college football? Because he is at every Texas game, and we can talk about that another time. I just think that's a fun fact about that. And I love Matthew McConaughey, the actor. So maybe not the Texas fan. I don't know. But, another thing there I think that'll be fun to debate. Is Matthew McConaughey the Taylor Swift of college football, in particular with the Texas Longhorns? Penn State, Drew Aller, James Franklin taking on Notre Dame. Great for Notre Dame getting this far. I didn't think they were going to beat Georgia, but they did. Granted, that's also great. Another SEC team going down, and I don't want to root against Georgia either, because actually the Georgia Bulldogs never really bothered me. I've always liked Kirby Smart in that program, but having said that, Penn State, this is a good game for them and a good matchup. I think they're the better team, and I would like Ohio State in a matchup with them, but Penn State really on the cusp right now of possibly winning a national title, and for them, if they can get to the national title game and beat Ohio State, I think that avenges the game they had against them earlier this season. But I also think it puts them on a higher pedestal of knowing they can get to this big moment because Ohio State and Michigan have kind of been in their way this whole time. But now this Notre Dame game in particular, when you look at the Fighting Irish and how they play football, they're so consistent and they're so calculated. They beat Georgia pretty much in the first half of that game. And they kept it going through the second half. And Georgia essentially was stuck. And Kirby Smart, for as smart of a guy as he is, I just think he couldn't coach his way out of it. Notre Dame was much more calculated in that game. So when you look at Penn State, Drew Aller, I think, is a good enough quarterback where he could absolutely work against Notre Dame's defense. But to me, this game, I feel like there's still some pressure on Penn State because they want to get to that big moment. And I think they're hoping for Ohio State for a revenge purpose. They might want Texas because then it'll maybe a shoe-in to win the national title. But even then, that'd be an interesting and intriguing matchup. And if Texas wins the whole thing, then the SEC and all the fans there and the bias and all that, maybe then I could eat crow for that. But, good for the SEC, I guess, even though all their other programs were disasters. So for me, when I look at this Penn State and this matchup against Notre Dame, to me, I feel like the pressure is more so on Penn State. And when the pressure's on James Franklin, he tends to fold. And so, I don't know. I do not know if Penn State is going to come out of this game. I think it would be great for the Big Ten if it's Ohio State, Penn State in the national championship. But having said that, this game could be tight. I don't know if I like either one, to be honest with you. I don't like either one against Texas or Ohio State. I think whoever wins Texas and Ohio State ends up winning the national title. I'll just put that out there right off the rip. But between Penn State and Notre Dame, I feel like if Notre Dame got Texas, they might have a better shot. I think Penn State has a chance too, but very small. Like to me, this game is not as intriguing as Ohio State, Texas. And I think Penn State has the most pressure out of all four programs remaining. Not just to win a national title, but to also get their name on the map a little bit and overcome some of the struggles they had against a lot of the power teams, especially teams like Ohio State. So we'll have to see what takes place with those two. But for me, I like Ohio State and I like Penn State, and I say we have a Big Ten championship coming. Notre Dame could win that game. I think that's going to be a closer one than Ohio State, Texas. I think Ohio State may win by 10 points over Texas. I'll go 34-24 Ohio State, and I'll go Penn State 26-24. We'll keep it close relatively there. Those two are some tough games to pick, to be honest with you. Well, I should say the Penn State-Notre Dame game is a tough one to pick. Ohio State-Texas, I think Ohio State's clearly the better team, but we'll have to see how it's executed on Friday, which is tomorrow. So, go Bucks. We'll see what happens there. That's it for today's edition of Raw Takes with Andrew Hoty. Go Cavs. Go Buckeyes. Go Browns in the upcoming draft. We're not going to talk Browns for a while on this show, so I'll just say that. On Short Take Saturday this week, my playoff predictions for the wild card round in the NFL and some of the reaction to the college football playoff games tomorrow. So keep that in mind when you tune in to Short Take Saturday on Saturday. Make sure to check out the show on social media. All the links in the description below. We have an upcoming contest coming up, so make sure to be getting ready for that. I can't wait to announce what that contest is, and we have a very special group helping out with that contest, and I will give them a shout out once that comes across. But also make sure to leave your comments, give me your feedback. I'm going to try to get to as many of them as I can in next week's Raw Takes with Andrew Hoty. We have a lot coming up on the show this January, and I'm excited for 2025 with the podcast now in full swing. We're on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and we have Short Take Saturday, so make sure to subscribe, comment below, like the videos, and of course, check out the show on social media. Have a good one, everybody. The Frog is in session. 33-4, here we come. Go Cavs, go Buckeyes, and we'll see you on the next edition of Raw Takes with Andrew Hoty and Short Take Saturday.